let's get started. Today I'm going to talk about the true performance comparison between Citrix Virtual Desktop and VMware Horizon. Not VMware. Thank you, Brian. And first I want to start with why. Why this research? And I think this states it all. It's passion. I want to compare both products. It's interesting. I know it's a sensitive topic, especially for VMware and both Citrix. But still, it's for us as a consultant, it's interesting to see the difference between both of those. So it's independent. I'm not being paid by VMware. I'm not being paid by Citrix. It's an honest compare between both products. I'm not going to do the features. It's true about the user experience. Oh, hello. It's better? Okay. So the user experience and scalability. Quick warning, there's a lot of content, a lot of charts and performance data, so it's going to make your hangover a little bit worse, so sorry for that. You can still go to the exit and leave. So my name is Ryan Verts-Bijkerk. I'm a technical evangelist at ICT Partners, so I'm responsible for the mission, vision and propositions for a department within ICT Partners. Also involved in the community, so I'm a Citrix CTA right now and a vExpert, and also proud to be part of the team RG. So if you want to reach out, there's some contact details. So enough about me. So today I'm going to talk about two main topics. I want to talk about the visual user experience and the scalability. And of course it is important to start with introduction about the configuration itself, so the environment that we run on. So this is a Go EUC research. So how many of you actually know Go EUC? Wow. I'm quite proud of that because we just started, I think it's like a year ago. So it's a community research platform where we do a lot of performance comparisons. So if I have to explain my emotional feeling about Go EUC, it's a little bit reflected like this. It's fucking awesome to do, but in order to do all the testing, sometimes I have to behave like a vampire because even on the most sunniest day, I'm still working on the lab and installing all the latest versions. It can be really, really frustrating to do all those tests, so we execute a lot of tests. And sometimes it becomes a little bit late and it feels like a hangover. I do all this testing outside my primary job, so it's really a community thing. I'm not getting paid for only doing these kind of tests. And the main reason why we do this is doing these researches, it's creating new knowledge. It's helped us to improve and consult also our customers. But it's also interesting for you guys to read about. Just like I said, we started in just a year ago, so in September. It's fully for the community. We're independent, unbiased, and we primarily focus on the performance analysis and the best practices. So we have a focus area of EUC because we do only EUC stuff. And to give a little bit of an idea, we already have 27 publications online right now, just within a year. So it's quite a lot. And in order to do all those publications, it's not accurate, it's more right now, but it's over 2,200 test results. We cannot run this platform without any funding. We need to rent hardware, it's quite expensive. So I'm proud that ICT Partners, so the company I work for, they fully finance the community, so the Go EUC platform. It's not just me, there are more people involved. So we have a core team. We have like a weekly meeting talking about the latest topics and the tests that we want to do. But we also have other contributors that start writing on our platform. So if you also want to join, you can just join us and also get involved in all the performance testing. So everything that we do, we publish on our blog. So it's open. You can just go to the website. It's live. There's no registration required. Everything is just readable and for you to consume. So let's talk some details. In order to do some testing, you need some hardware, and we decided because for the cost to not have a big investment, we decided to rent hardware at OVH. So we rent their dedicated hardware. Right now we have 2 infrastructure hosts, and we got 1 testing host. And you can see that the specifications of the testing host is a little bit bigger, because there's the workload is going to be running on the testing host. Please note as well, there's no NVIDIA GPU in there. So OVH do provide NVIDIA cards, but it's more for the mining, the deep analytics, and it's expensive as hell. Too expensive for us. So if you look at the infrastructure itself, everything regarding infrastructure is on the infrastructure hosts. So when with the Citrix or VMware, the components of Citrix and VMware is also running there for the brokering, but also the long VSI launchers. So that represents the endpoints and that will initiate users. We're running on VMware Hypervisor because it's the most used also in the world. And for the testing host, it's only pure the VDI that's running there. So it's no other components running on the testing host. So we really separate the results from the infrastructure. So we use log-VSI, and we actually expanded also using REX Analytics. So I think most of you already know REX Analytics because Benny explained it, but how many of you know log-VSI? Okay, almost everyone. For those who don't know it, VSI is a benchmarking solution. They will simulate users. So user will log on to the environment and they will simulate user behavior and start applications and generating the load. In order to do the REX Analytics stuff, we have a dedicated endpoint. So we use an IGEL endpoint, which is the output is connected to a frame grabber. Which is connected to a dedicated machine that's doing all the recordings. So when we start a test, we just initiate a normal VSI test, but we also initiate 1 user on our IGEL, which is just doing the usual login VSI session, but in the meantime we collect everything. So we have a lot of data. We got also the video data and all the performance data. So I do run a little bit customized implementation of REX, but I'm still working with Benny to get it all up and running. So to get an idea how we do these test cycles, all the tests are fully automated. So we prepare 1 scenario, and then we kick it off, and we repeat that 10 times. So all the results are not based on just a single run, there are multiple runs there. To give you a little bit of an idea, 1 test cycle takes for us around 24 hours to complete. And it's just 1 single scenario, you need at least 2. There's a lot of data involved, so it's 60 MBs of raw text data. Actually it's a little bit more, also including with video data. We're talking about gigabytes of data. Everything that we publish are all based on averages. It's an important one now. So we use multiple data sources. So we have the log-VSI data, of course, and they generate the baseline and the VSI max, which represents the maximum capacity. But we also collect the data from the hypervisor. We collect the data from the launchers, which represents the endpoint. We got also data from the VDI itself and the video data, and we also use remote display analyzer to collect the data from the protocol. So let's go to the first topic, the visual user experience. So what we really want to test is the out-of-the-box experience between both. So we just did an installation, it's the next finish installation, and we didn't apply any optimization regarding the protocol. Of course, the basic VDI golden image is optimized using the Citrix optimizer, but we really pure want to use the out-of-the-box experience. So regarding VMware Horizon, not View, we use the latest available version. There's one note on the endpoint, so the client is not the latest one. And there's one reason for that. I experienced like lag within the mouse when using the latest version, so therefore I didn't use the latest version of that. So we used the link clones. There's no storage acceleration configured, and we need to also ensure that the pool is 100% available. So there's no booting up during the test. By default also the 3D rendering is disabled, and we always ensure that for VMware it's a fixed protocol, because we want to see the difference between the protocols. So for Citrix, it's the latest available version, including the workspace app. We're using MCS. There's also no MCS I/O implemented, so no storage optimization, and as well the delivery group is 100% available. So for this case, yeah.
Sorry, did you configure Blast Enhanced Adaptive Transport and EDT Enlightened Data Transport?
No. No. For this case, we used a single user approach. So what we want to see is how does the protocol behave with a single user. So we used the login VSI knowledge worker workload that includes like 4 to 7 applications. It's just the Office applications, some web browsing. And for the video content, they usually use, I think it's 360p videos. It's quite small, so we upgraded that to 720. And we used a fixed video, so we can compare the videos, because login VSI uses random data. So for the scenario, we use Windows 10, 1803. The reason for that is that I had an issue using 1809, including with the latest Citrix version. I couldn't install or create the machine catalog. So we configured with 2 vCPUs with 4 gigs memory, Microsoft Office 2016, and everything is optimized using the Citrix optimizer. So it's just the default template that's recommended by the Citrix optimizer. So represented in the blue one, we got the BLAST protocol. Orange we got PC over IP, RDP, and in yellow we got the Citrix ATX. So let's first look at the baseline. So the baseline is a login VSI metric which represents the responsiveness within the session. This is also the methodology they use to calculate the maximum capacity. And what you can see here is based on the single user approach, we can see that the baseline of BLAST is higher compared to the other protocols, which means that the other ones are more snappier. So comparing this to, yeah.
Sorry, where did you have the client? So you were running that from the data center locally. So you're running, because you also said
the client was running from my home, and we used an OpenVPN connection towards the data center.
Thank you.
So looking at the utilization within the VDI itself, the important thing here in the line graph is that the pattern is similar. So here you can see the spikes, and these are the 3 videos that we are running. What you can see here is that the RDP and the PC over IP got, the blue one, so the BLAST got a little bit higher utilization. So when converting that towards a percentage, it looked like this. So we do see when using PC over IP, you got reduced in the utilization within the VDI itself. It's also for Citrix, but comparing that towards PC over IP, it's a little bit higher. So looking at the available memory, you can see that Citrix has a little bit of a lower footprint on the memory usage, which I think it's not a big deal. So looking at the experience itself, so one important metrics are the FPS. So the amount of frames that send over from the session itself towards the endpoint. And again here in the line chart it's important to see the similar pattern. But again here you can see that some protocols, especially RDP, got like low amount of frames per second. So converting this towards a percentage, it's a clear difference. What I find interesting that both BLAST and Citrix ATX are similar in sending over the frames. PC over IP is a little bit lower and RDP is not really performing as well, looking at the entire test. So let's visualize this. So using the recordings we can actually compare the output. So what I've done is the test takes like an hour and I've just taken a couple highlights. So in this case we're going to look at the different protocols and we open some Office applications and some web browsing. So here you can see this is just a typical VSI workload. There's a big difference when running VSI out of the box. Usually they have a progress bar. We removed that because there's like a progress bar shiny thingy in there. We don't want to have the influence of that within the test. So what you can see here is that VSI opens a web page and it starts browsing the website. And what you can see here is that based on the user experience, there's no really clear difference when using the different protocols. And you do see that there is a little bit of jittery within the RDP, but comparing the others, it's actually very similar. So let's move towards the next video, which is PowerPoint. So VSI uses a PowerPoint presentation and they also put it in presenter mode. So again, the same protocols, and now it will load. And as you can see, it's opening the PowerPoint presentation and it will put it in presenter mode. And as you can see here as well, there's no really clear difference when using just a PowerPoint application between the protocols. So in general, it's all quite similar. Or do you guys see a difference?
The colors.
Different text.
Yeah. So the VSI use random data, so they're not exactly the same presentations. So the pictures are also a little bit different. But if you look at the transitions between the difference between both slides, the experience between the transitions is similar. So let's compare also the video, and this video also includes some audio, not the happy ending audio. And here you're going to see a difference. What you're seeing here, from my perspective, the RDP is running quite okay, but the ATX and the BLAST are performing similar. Well, PC over IP has more jitter in the video. Another thing that's also stand out is that the audio are not in sync. Even though I took the exact same frame and started similar, still the audio is out of sync. So that was also an interesting one. I still need to look further in which protocol has the delay in audio. So let's advance in more 3D related. So as I also mentioned, we don't have an NVIDIA GPU in the server. But it's still interesting to see how does the protocol behave when you have more 3D intense applications. So in this case, I also used the video, but in this case it's a 60 FPS video. And And we use the WebGL grass field, so it's just simulating grass, with the car visualizer. Again, the same testing approach. The only difference is that we used a custom 3D workload that I created for this research. So also when you look at the line graph, it's way shorter. So it's not a test of an hour, it's actually a test of around 10 minutes. And again here you see a similar pattern compared to previous results. But it's a little bit closer. So comparing the frames per second, you can really see that in the third half, it's VMware or Citrix is providing more frames towards the endpoint. But if you summarize everything again, it's the blast and HDX. It's similar, so we don't see any difference there. So let's look at the video. And this one doesn't have any audio because the player didn't provide the audio. But it's similar compare. But in this case, we use the 60 frames video. And here you can see that some are really struggling, especially PC over IP. Again, I think RDP is doing okay. It's not the same experience when you're looking at Citrix and Blast. But you see that the PC over IP has a hard time to rendering all the frames. So let's look at the next one. I think this is the grass simulation. Let's go for the intro slide. And this is just a public website. Here you can see that when you don't have a GPU, the user experience is shitty. So it doesn't matter which protocol you use. When using WebGL or 3D applications, you need to ensure that you add the GPU to it. So usually also based on the experience, the grass, I think they publish now one grass field. When you use it on just the laptop itself, it's a full field. So it cannot render all the grass elements. And it's the same for the car visualizer. Can you skip this a little bit? So when opening the car visualizer without a GPU, it's a shitty experience, no matter what protocol you're using. What I do find interesting that the rotation of the PC over IP is quicker compared to the other ones. I'm not sure why, because the output of the frames is similar, but the rotation is quicker. So to summarize, if you look at the resources, so CPU utilization, VMware Blast requires more resources compared to the other ones. But it's very important to understand the workload that is running within your environment, no matter what protocol you're using. And when using a 3D workload, it's recommended to add the GPU, otherwise you don't get the experience that we want to achieve. And also based on this, it's always recommended to tune the protocol itself. Always. We didn't, but it's always recommended to do that. So let's go to the next topic, which is the scalability. So again, we want to have the out-of-box experience of both products, and then on the scalability. So for this testing approach, we had a similar setup, but we're using more users. So we again used a modified workload with the upgraded video and one fixed video. And the first session that's running on the ISO thin client is also recorded. And for this case, because of time constraints, so the tests were done, I think, yesterday, I didn't include RDP in this scalability yet, because of time. Again, we got 1803, the default configuration, optimized using the Citrix optimizer, and we got the blast, PCOverP, and ACX. So, looking at the baseline, you can see here on scale, actually Citrix has a better baseline, so it's more responsive within the session itself compared to Blast and PCOverP. But PCOverP and ACX are very close. So looking at the host CPU utilization, so this is the utilization from the hypervisor itself, you can see a clear difference. Blast requires way more resources compared to PCOverP and ACX. So from a storage perspective, we don't see a real difference. There is a little bit lower reads, but it's not a big difference. So looking at the frames per second, you do see at scale, Citrix is more successful in sending out the frames compared to the other ones. I'm quite surprised by PCOverP, that's quite low. So another interesting thing is the endpoint utilization. So here you can see that PCOverP does require more utilization on the endpoint. So this is also an important factor you need to take into account when providing the desktop to ensure you have enough resources.
Did your endpoint have a H.264 chip or a H.264 decoder on the die?
Good one. I'm not sure. I need to look into that. It has? It has?
Yeah.
No, it has.
Well, that's why.
The other thing on PCOverP, the version of PCOverP in Horizon today is like 5 years old.
Yep.
Because once VMware started making Blast, PCOverP only exists for legacy compatibility for people who have those 0 clients. So any test of PCOverP is not the current Teradici PCOverP product. So I don't want people to think that PCOverP is shit because we're comparing to platform. It is. I mean, if you also add a 5-year-old version of HDX, it has a big line like PCOverP too. So I don't want to like PCOverP. I don't want to like. No, they're doing okay. It's just this is the 2013 version.
It's default in the product, huh?
Of course, because like I said, it's there for legacy compatibility. But
if you
we
want,
do not recommend anyone use PCOverP.
If you want more information, on why it exists and for what reasons, come talk to Brian.
Yeah, but do not use PCOverP. Anyway.
Also, a thing that we have captured is the network throughput, and you can see here that, well, even though Citrix has more frames, it requires less bandwidth. Now, there's no bandwidth constraint in this environment, so you can also see the other way around. VMware is more successful in consuming all the bandwidth that's available. So let's look at the videos again. So in this case, I got only Blast, PCOverP, and HDX. So RDP, there's going to be black. And in this case, I think it should be like the Outlook again. Oh, it's the PowerPoint. Again, and the PowerPoints. So this is just also on the background. There are how Benny always called the noisy neighbors. So the server is already on a load during this presentation. And what I find really surprising that I couldn't spot the real difference between the protocols. So again, from a user experience, there's not a clear difference. So let's go to the, I think it's the video. It's going to be a surprise. Come on. Again, the videos are synced on exactly the same frame, but you can hear that the audio is way out of sync. And you can also see that Citrix is running a little bit smoother compared to Blast. But the interesting one is also the login VSI timer. So the timer functionality within VSI, it's used for the VSI max calculation and the baseline. And here you can see a real clear difference. So what the timer does, it opens a couple applications quite quickly, and it will record the time of it. So they have like a notepad, they do control, they do also some zip compressions. And you can see here that the Citrix is already done, and then the PC over IP, but the Blast one is still running. So it's really constrained by the host utilization, but this one has a real effect also when you look at the VSI results. So let's summarize. If you look at skill, there's a clear difference between VMware and Citrix. And the high utilization, it does affect the user experience, although it's not really noticeable within the PowerPoint, but especially within the timer, when the applications are quickly opened and there's real CPU activities, you see a clear difference. And it's important that you need to validate the sizing, not based just on theory, but in real practice. So you need to understand what workload is used within your environment, and you need to validate that within your own environment. So that's it. But there are still some open questions. And I know that VMware currently is working hard on the out-of-the-box experience for future releases. So I think they're coming quite soon, 7.11, where the out-of-the-box experience is going to be improved. But for us, what's the effect of when tuning the protocol itself? So we want to continue with the research and show what the effect is of tuning from a user experience perspective. But another interesting one is also what happens when you add a GPU. So those are still researches that we really want to do. But the key takeaways here is you really need to understand the workload and always tune your protocol. And when you have a high resource utilization, it will affect the user experience. So make sure you understand the sizing of your environment, no matter what protocol. But this one is the most important. Always test within your own environment. Don't assume based on also this kind of publications. And this kind of publication on GoUC provides an indication, but it's always about the context. You need to include the context of your own environment, because it can be different. Different hardware, different applications. Make sure you test it yourself. So, we are an open community, so if you want to contribute, you can join our Slack channel. It's behind the QR code. I hope it works. I need to check that. But if you have ideas for interesting researches, please share those. We always want to have more interesting topics that are relevant to you guys. But you can also get involved by writing yourself. And so if you have a great idea and you have the time to do some testing, talk to us, and we're happy to work together. So that's it. Thank you, guys. Still 5 minutes left for questions or discussions.
I would love to see EDT against Beat, so that you've got that UDP, and also like some kind of WAN simulation. I think that would be an interesting one to see.
We actually got some testing that you did on protocol, in which you tested EDT compared to the normal H6 TCP, right?
Yes.
Visual quality ones. The visual quality ones.
That one is already public. I can share the link afterwards.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
I got a question though. When you compare the grass growing or the visual car visualizer, one of the things Citrix does is browser content redirection. Do you think that will have a big impact on the scalability of the system?
Yeah, of course.
Is that something we want to test in the near future?
You know it's on the backlog. Yeah, it's going to make a difference. So it's also interesting to see it, but it will flow towards endpoint, so it will require more resources from the endpoint perspective. Yeah.
And you can only do that with Chrome and IE because it requires the plugin as well.
Yeah.
So in testing, we've seen like 40% reduction in
40%?
40% using browser content redirection. I mean, if you look at your host these days, it's all web apps, right?
Yeah.
So if you actually offload that stuff, we've seen 40% reduction. And videos, when you're using non-graphics enabled machines in something like Azure or something like that, we've seen like 80% reduction because those machines really don't cope well with rendering tasks. We did some demos recently where we had it enabled with browser content redirection and video offloading, and then not enabled, and it was like one user maxing out 2 cores versus 3% CPU usage.
It's going to be an interesting one then. Cool. Okay. Thank you guys.